The voyeurs are neighing unheeded. The vast chamber of the Galactic Assembly hummed with tense energy as representatives from over 300 spacefaring civilizations gathered for an emergency session. The enormous amphitheater, carved from a hollow asteroid at the galaxy's central nexus point, rarely hosted full assemblies except in matters of utmost importance. High Elder Vexamar, the ancient crystalline being who had chaired the assembly for over 800 cycles, floated to the central podium. His translucent body shimmered with internal light as he addressed the gathered delegates. Esteemed representatives of the galactic community, his thoughts projected directly into the minds of all present, we have called this session to discuss the formal classification of the species designated humans from the third planet of the Sol system. Holographic displays activated throughout the chamber, showing images of Earth and its inhabitants. The delegates murmured as they studied the bipedal creatures that, at first glance, seemed unremarkable. The classification committee has completed its standard 1,000-year observation period of the species. Vexamar continued. Today, we must determine their threat designation and appropriate interaction protocols. A sleek, serpentine figure rose from the delegation of the ancient Shreth conclave. Science Director Thislak's scales rippled with iridescent patterns as she spoke. The evidence compels us to recommend an unprecedented classification. Her voice hissed through the translation matrix. Despite their technological immaturity, we propose designating humans as a Class 5 threat species with mandatory non-interference protocols. The chamber erupted in shock debate. Class 5 was reserved for the most dangerous civilizations in the galaxy, typically those with planet-destroying capabilities and documented genocidal tendencies. To classify a pre-FTL species at this level was unheard of. Admiral Kralvor of the militaristic Krozorn Empire stood abruptly, his armored exoskeleton clanking with the movement. Standing 3 meters tall with 4 powerful arms and mandibles that could crush titanium, he physically embodied the Krozorn's reputation as conquerors. "This is absurd," he growled, voice amplified through his translator. "These humans have barely reached their own satellite. They fight among themselves constantly. Their weapons are primitive. What possible justification exists for such classification?" Science Director Thislak activated a series of historical projections. Over a mere 3,000 years, a blink in evolutionary terms, humans have demonstrated patterns that deeply concern us. Unlike most species who seek equilibrium, humans perpetually advance through conflict. The displays showed human warfare evolving from stone weapons to nuclear arsenals in a time frame that made many delegates shift uncomfortably. More concerning, Thislak continued, is their psychological profile. Humans exhibit a trait we've termed vindictive memory. When most rational species accept defeat and seek accommodation, humans remember. They pass their grievances through generations. They wait, they plan, they adapt, and they return with greater strength. Theoretical concerns, Admiral Kralvor dismissed with a gesture of his upper right claw. The Krozorn Empire has conquered 67 systems. We've faced telepathic hive minds and sentient plasma clouds. These humans would fall in days. Elder Mokhtari of the Historian Guild rose slowly, his ancient body supported by a hovering mobility platform. As the oldest living being in the assembly, his rare interventions commanded immediate silence. I have personally observed 17 species who dismissed such warnings about primitive civilizations. His voice quavered with age, but rang clear with authority. None of those 17 species exist today. The humans have a saying that, in itself, should give us pause. Revenge is a dish best served cold. The elder activated his own historical record, showing the fate of the last empire that had underestimated a seemingly primitive species. The delegates watched in uncomfortable silence as the once mighty Drelkar dominion was systematically dismantled over 3 centuries by the patient, methodical Frex, who had appeared harmless when first contacted. Humans make the Frex look forgiving, Elder Mokhtari concluded. They fight hardest when victory seems impossible. They unify in the face of external threats. and they never, ever forget. The debate raged for hours. The science delegations presented evidence of human adaptability, creativity, and their unique ability to sustain grievances across generations. The military contingents argued that technological superiority would render such concerns irrelevant. In the end, the Assembly voted by a narrow margin to designate humans as Class 5 and establish a cordon around Sol system under non-interference protocols. However, the Krozorn Empire and several allied species formally registered their dissent. As the session concluded, Admiral Kralvor approached Diplomat Zexera, a moderate voice within the Krozorn delegation who had urged caution. The Empire sees opportunity where others see danger, Kralvor said, mandibles clicking with ambition. Prepare a battle fleet. We will show the Assembly how easily these dangerous humans submit to superior force. Zexera's inner eyelids fluttered in distress. Admiral, the Assembly's warnings are the fearful bleating of pacifists and weaklings, Kralvor interrupted. Emperor Vragkol himself has approved this expedition. These humans will make excellent slave labor for the mining colonies, and their planet's resources will fuel our expansion. 3 orbital cycles later, the Krozorn battle fleet departed towards Sol system, 70 warships strong, in direct violation of the Assembly's non-interference directive. Diplomat Zexera watched them go, remembering the final warning from Elder Mokhtari that continued to disturb his sleep. If you attack the humans, they will never stop hunting you. Not in your lifetime, not in your children's lifetimes. They will hunt you to the edge of the galaxy and beyond. They are coming for you even now. The Krozorn fleet emerged from hyperspace in perfect formation, their massive warships creating artificial eclipses over Earth's major cities. For 23 minutes, they remained silent, allowing human detection systems to register their presence. In the United Nations Security Council chamber, emergency sessions convened as military forces worldwide went to high alert. Satellite imagery showed 30 ships larger than aircraft carriers hovering over strategic locations. The remaining 40 vessels maintained position around Earth's lunar orbit. What are our options? President Rice of the American coalition demanded, surrounded by military advisors in the White House Situation Room. General Hammond shook her head. Limited, Madam President. Our most advanced weapons might damage their smaller vessels. But those capital ships. She gestured at the largest Krozorn dreadnought, estimated at 3 kilometers in length. We're looking at technology centuries beyond ours. The answer to humanity's questions came when every electronic device on Earth simultaneously displayed the same image, a massive insectoid creature in ornate armor. People of Earth, the translation appeared in local languages worldwide. I am Admiral Kralvor of the Krozorn Empire. Your planet is now under our authority. Resistance will result in demonstration strikes against population centers. Compliance will be rewarded with survival. You have 3 hours to inform your leaders to surrender. In orbit, Diplomat Zexera observed the transmission with unease. Admiral, perhaps we should give them more time to. Their primitive communication systems have received our message, Kralvor interrupted. 3 hours is generous for accepting inevitable defeat. On Earth, humanity's response came not from political leaders, but from an unexpected quarter. Major Sophia Chen, a quantum physicist who had transitioned to military intelligence, had been studying theoretical first contact scenarios for years. When the aliens appeared, she was ready with speculative defense protocols that had been dismissed as wasteful contingency planning just yesterday. Their ships must use quantum entanglement for instant communication across their fleet, she explained to the hastily assembled Joint Chiefs. If we can identify those frequencies and generate interference patterns. Within 90 minutes, military satellites worldwide had been reprogrammed according to her specifications, and ground-based quantum arrays originally designed for computing were repurposed as disruptors. When the Krozorn deadline approached, Admiral Kralvor ordered demonstration strikes against 3 mid-sized cities on different continents. But as the weapons systems activated, The carefully orchestrated quantum interference struck. Across the Crozorn fleet, ship-to-ship communications collapsed. Targeting systems failed. Navigation computers crashed and rebooted in endless cycles. The carefully coordinated attack dissolved into confusion. On the Crozorn flagship, Admiral Kralvor roared in frustration. "What is happening?" "Some form of targeted electronic warfare," his chief technician reported in disbelief. "They've somehow identified and disrupted our quantum communication bands." "Impossible." Kralvor slammed all four fists onto his command console. "They're pre-FTL primitives." Diplomat Zexera remembered Elder Mokhtari's warnings about human adaptability, but kept silent as the Admiral ordered a withdrawal to lunar orbit to reconfigure their systems. The respite gave humanity precious hours. In underground bunkers and makeshift laboratories worldwide, scientists and military personnel worked feverishly to analyze the alien technology from sensor readings. What they lacked in advanced technology, they made up for with numbers and desperate innovation. When the Crozorn returned 20 hours later, they faced not just quantum interference, but a coordinated global response. Military satellites have been weaponized with hastily adapted nuclear warheads. Ground-based lasers originally designed for neutralizing orbital debris were repurposed as defensive weapons. The second Crozorn attack began with more caution, but equal confidence in their technological superiority. That confidence evaporated when the first destroyer crashed into the Indian Ocean, its propulsion systems fatally compromised by targeted electromagnetic pulses delivered by a swarm of suicide drones. Over the next 72 hours, an impossible scenario unfolded. A pre-FTL civilization fighting with desperate ingenuity began inflicting casualties on one of the galaxy's most feared military powers. 6 days into what was supposed to be a simple conquest, Admiral Kralvor faced an unthinkable decision. The Crozorn fleet had lost 17 warships, not to advanced alien technology, but to improvised weapons and tactics that evolved hourly. Human satellites sacrificed themselves in kinetic impacts. Nuclear detonations in the upper atmosphere created electromagnetic pulses that crashed ship systems. And somehow, the humans had already reverse-engineered elements of Crozorn communication technology to broadcast virus-laden signals directly to ship computers. "We must escalate," Kralvor declared, mandibles clicking in barely controlled rage. "Prepare orbital bombardment of all major population centers simultaneously." "Admiral," Zexera interjected, abandoning diplomatic caution. The Assembly's classification wasn't about their current technology, but about their response to aggression. "If we escalate to planetary bombardment, we will break their will," Kralvor roared. The bombardment began at dawn, Greenwich Mean Time. Crozorn energy weapons carved destruction across major cities worldwide. Millions perished in the first hour. But even as they died, humans continued fighting. Military bases presumed destroyed launched hidden missiles. Civilian boats carried tactical nuclear devices beneath Crozorn ships hovering over coastlines. And in a move that shocked even Kralvor, 7 human aircraft deliberately crashed into the flagship's propulsion section, their pilots sacrificing themselves to deliver specialized electromagnetic warheads. When the flagship's engines exploded, the balance of the conflict fundamentally changed. Admiral Kralvor, Supreme Commander of the invasion fleet, perished along with 12,000 Crozorn crew members. The remaining fleet, suddenly leaderless, fell into disarray. Diplomat Zexera, now the highest-ranking survivor, activated the emergency command protocols and ordered an immediate withdrawal to the rally point beyond Mars orbit. As the battered Crozorn fleet retreated, he composed an emergency transmission to the Galactic Assembly. The warnings were insufficient. "Request immediate reinforcements. The humans are not merely dangerous. They are unlike anything we have encountered." On Earth, amid the smoking ruins of cities and the mourning for millions of dead, humanity's focus was already shifting. In secured bunkers, scientists examined captured Crozorn technology. Military strategists studied the recovered alien tactical databases, And in a historic emergency session, the United Nations unanimously approved the formation of Earth Defense Force, a unified military command with a single purpose, ensuring that the aliens who had attacked Earth would never know peace again. The first phase of the war had ended. But as Elder Mokhtari had warned, humans would not forget. They would not forgive. And they would never, ever stop. The Hunters of Kra-Zoran. 10 years after the failed Krozorn invasion, Earth had transformed in ways that would have seemed impossible before first contact. The shared trauma of alien attack had accomplished what centuries of human history could not, a unified planet with a singular purpose. In the massive underground complex beneath the Himalayas, Fleet Admiral Helena Reyes studied the holographic display showing humanity's first interstellar warship. At 2 kilometers long, the EDF Vengeance represented the culmination of reverse-engineered Krozorn technology combined with human innovation. The hyperdrive testing is complete, reported Chief Engineer Omar Singh. We can reach the Krozorn homeworld in approximately 7 weeks. And the weapons systems? Reyes asked. Beyond anything the Krozorn deployed against us, Singh replied with grim satisfaction. We didn't just copy their technology, we improved it. This was the pattern of the past decade. Humanity had taken the fragments of advanced technology left behind by their attackers and, driven by existential fear and smoldering vengeance, leapfrogged centuries of development. The quantum communication systems that had once been the Krozorn advantage now formed the backbone of Earth's planetary defense network. The alien power systems had revolutionized Earth's energy infrastructure, providing resources for even greater military expansion. Most significantly, the partial star charts recovered from crashed Krozorn vessels had given humanity something it had never possessed before: a map to the enemy. In high orbit, 5 massive shipyards worked continuously, constructing vessels for what the United Earth government called the Great Hunt. Public support for the enormous military expenditure was nearly universal. The rallying cry, "Remember the bombardment," adorned everything from military recruiting posters to children's lunchboxes. In the Galactic Assembly, the emergency session regarding the Krozorn human conflict had extended for years. The assembly chambers, once a place of measured debate, now echoed with accusations and fear. The Krozorn Supreme Commander, Zexera, elevated after his predecessor's failure, addressed the assembly with undisguised desperation. For 10 cycles, we have fought a defensive war against human expansion, he reported, his once proud stance now hunched with exhaustion. They have captured 23 of our outer colony worlds. They have destroyed 42% of our battle fleet. They pursue our retreating forces beyond all rational calculation of resource expenditure. Elder Mokhtari, now requiring life support to attend sessions, nevertheless radiated vindication. Did we not warn you? The humans fight not merely to win, but to ensure you can never threaten them again. They fight not for victory, but for extinction. Yours. The Krozorn Empire requests direct military intervention from the Assembly. Zexera continued, ignoring the Elder's rebuke. The humans have bypassed established Assembly members in their single-minded pursuit of our species. If they are not stopped, you violated non-interference protocols, interrupted the representative from the Frex consciousness, the very species that Mokhtari had referenced in his original warning. You attacked a Class 5 designated species against explicit warnings. The Assembly will not intervene. In the decade since first contact, humanity's understanding of galactic politics had grown along with their technological capabilities. Intelligence operatives had established clandestine connections with Assembly representatives, sympathetic to Earth's position. Through these channels, humanity learned of their unusual classification and the warnings that the Krozorn had ignored. This knowledge only hardened human resolve. The Great Hunt was reframed not merely as vengeance for Earth's dead, but as justice for violations of galactic law. 4 months after the Vengeance's successful test flight, the first human battle fleet entered Krozorn core territories. 12 warships, each carrying technology that had not existed on Earth 15 years earlier, bypassed the outer defensive lines through precisely calculated hyperspace jumps. At the agricultural world of Krozor Prime, Supreme Commander Zexera received the reports with numb resignation. The humans had avoided military targets, instead striking directly at the heart of the Empire's food production. They hadn't bombarded the planet as the Krozorn had done to Earth. Instead, they had deployed engineered biological agents that destroyed specific crop species critical to Krozorn physiology. "They're not just fighting our military," his chief strategist observed. "They're dismantling our civilization's ability to function." 3 weeks later, when the humans struck at the Krozorn's primary shipyards in the Frag system, they'd broadcast a message on all Krozorn frequencies. "We remember the bombardment. We will continue until the last Krozorn vessel is destroyed and the last Krozorn colony is abandoned. There will be no negotiations. There will be no peace. You came to our world uninvited. Now we will hunt you to the edge of the galaxy." The message was signed, "Humanity. We do not forget." As predicted by Elder Mokhtari years earlier, the human advance was methodical and unrelenting. They did not seek to occupy Krozorn worlds, only to ensure the Empire could never again pose a threat. Military installations were reduced to debris fields. Mining operations critical to warship production were destroyed with precision strikes. Supply chains were systematically dismantled. Most disturbingly to other galactic observers, humans displayed complete indifference to casualties among their own forces. When a human warship was destroyed, 2 more would appear in subsequent engagements. Their tactical doctrines evolved constantly, incorporating Krozorn countermeasures almost as quickly as they were deployed. 17 years after the initial invasion of Earth, Supreme Commander Zexera stood before the Galactic Assembly for the final time. The once mighty Krozorn Empire had been reduced to its homeworld and 3 nearby colonies. Their fleet was gone, their economy in ruins. "The Krozorn Empire formally surrenders to human authorities," he announced, mandibles trembling with the shame of it. "We request Assembly oversight of terms and protection for our remaining civilian population." The human representative, Ambassador Sarah Chen, sister of the quantum physicist who had developed Earth's first alien countermeasures, rose to respond. "The United Earth government acknowledges the Krozorn surrender," she stated coldly. "Our terms are non-negotiable. Complete disarmament, dissolution of all military infrastructure, and regular inspections by human forces to verify compliance. In return, we will end offensive operations against Krozorn civilian targets." When several Assembly representatives objected to the harshness of these terms, Ambassador Chen's response silenced the chamber. "The Krozorn killed 27 million humans in their unprovoked attack. They attempted to enslave our planet and exploit our resources. They ignored your warnings and your laws. We have not exterminated them, though they would have exterminated us. Remember this moment and remember these terms, should any other species consider attacking Earth in the future." In the cycles that followed, humanity's expansion throughout the galaxy continued at a pace that alarmed many established species. But unlike the conquest-driven imperialism of the Krozorn, humans sought trade, cultural exchange, and diplomatic relations with most species they encountered. Only toward those who threatened them did humans reveal the implacable vengeance that had broken the Krozorn Empire. 3 minor conflicts with other aggressive species ended quickly when the humans demonstrated their willingness to commit unlimited resources to warfare once provoked. 50 years after first contact, the Galactic Assembly formally amended its species classification protocols. Beyond Class 5, a new designation was created, applicable to only one known species: terminally vengeful, non-intervention mandatory. The official documentation included a simple warning that soon became the most widely known phrase in galactic diplomatic circles: "Do not attack the humans. They will hunt you forever." Elder Mokhtari, in his final address before passing into the great beyond, offered a more nuanced observation. "The tragedy of the Krozorn should teach us the most important lesson in interspecies relations. Humans are not inherently aggressive. They do not seek conflict, but once attacked, they become something unique in our galaxy, a species that values retribution above self-preservation, memory above reconciliation, and complete victory above reasonable settlement. Honor their boundaries, and you will find no better friends in the cosmos. Violate their trust, and you will know no peace for generations. The Kruzorn learned too late. Let their extinction be warning enough for all who follow.